Hello guys, and welcome back to the Ultra Quest Devlog series. Today we're gonna start building the first city in the game, and we're gonna start revamping the inventory system yet again. Although the first zone in the game is really cool, I kinda felt like it was a bit empty and lifeless. But adding NPCs just wandering around wouldn't really make sense unless they're enemies, so I thought I'd add a hub for them to actually go to. Now, before I started building in Unity, I wanted to map out sort of roughly where I wanted stuff to be in the city. So in Photoshop I drew this crude sketch map, and notably I wanted a raised up royal area here in the top right corner, where there'd be like either a castle or a big building of some sort. And to contrast this, I also wanted a lowered section of the city, sort of like a slum area, although the city is a bit too rich for a straight up slum area. But the houses in here will be less fancy than the ones that are placed higher up in the city. I also wanted a bunch of shops and more notable buildings such as a mage tower and a barracks. So I needed to make a list of what I actually wanted in order to be able to place it more accurately. I color coded it as well, and I made this idea for sort of an underground area, which we might or might not come back to later. So this whole process can sort of be split up into 4 phases, with 3 of them actually being the ones that need work. The first one is the sketching one, which we have done in Photoshop. The second one is going around in Unity and adding some buildings, in this case in the shape of cubes, to symbolize buildings, and some larger buildings which are just temporary placeholders for the larger shops and more notable buildings in the town. Now the 2 final phases can sort of be clumped into one, and that is making the models for the houses and the buildings in Blender, and then updating all the buildings in the town itself so they're no longer cubes but they have the right models. We've done the sketching, so before we start modeling any of the houses, we need a rough idea of where the houses are going to go and what shape and size they need to be. So I went into Unity and went around and drew some roads, placed some cubes to represent buildings and walls, and some cylinders to represent towers along the edge of the wall. Now this isn't complete, and most of this is just placeholder, but it's just to give us a rough idea of where things are supposed to be, and you know, what size they'll have and how they'll interact with each other. The relationship between buildings is always an important factor when designing buildings and cities. We don't want identical buildings next to each other, and we don't want buildings to look like they've just been placed individually. We want it to look like an organic city. And so after I had a good idea of where the buildings were supposed to go and how big I needed to design them, I went into Blender and started designing a few of them. I had already designed the walls, so I thought I would start by designing the castle on top of the hill. Now that I had the wall and the towers in place, I could use those as inspiration, seeing as the castle would probably be a bit more high-end and a bit more heavily guarded and defended than the rest of the common area down below in the city. Now this at first was just a rough shape that I sort of wanted to achieve, and I've been taking, throughout this entire process, I've been taking inspiration from games I love. This one is notably from World of Warcraft, where there is this sort of inn with like a giant clock tower for the people in the town to see what time it is. Now this was just going to be a rough shape, so I sort of knew what I had to build once it came to actually doing the buildings itself. The mentality here is that I wanted to do it in sort of like a puzzly way, and what I mean by that is I'm building each section of this building individually, so that in the future I'll be able to take the same pieces that are used in this building and combine them in another way to form another building. So it's a bit of a Minecrafty or Lego-ish way of looking at things, but that's kind of what I wanted. Now I took a break from the castle to hop in with my friend and do some coding and revamp the inventory system. Again, we took some inspiration from the asset store on how to do stuff, and as you can see here, we're dragging around boots. This is just to prove that the concept actually works. It's a proof of concept. Of course, you're not going to be wearing boots on your shoulders. It's just to show you how it's progressing. And I hopefully will have more to show of that in the future, because it's like the 3rd revamp of this inventory system. So I'm not showing too much, but there were also, I don't know if you noticed, but there are some graphical updates, especially with the bloom and ambient occlusion, but we'll come back to that later. Now back in Blender, I started modeling the entrance part to this town hall castle thingy, whatever you want to call it. Let's just call it a castle. Although it's kind of small and it's probably closer to like a town hall building, but I'll modify it so it looks a bit more like a castle by adding towers and stuff later on. It was really kind of difficult to give this building depth and life with only stone. Now, although this isn't colored in yet, a lot of the stone is gray, so this kind of gives you an idea of where we're going. Now, I wanted the entrance itself to be bordered by these stone things. Again, taking inspiration from stuff I built previously in games like Minecraft, where sort of framing a building really gives it life. And I struggled quite a bit with adding enough texture and depth to these pillars kind of bordering the building. So I'd come back to that later and modify it a bit. But before that, I jumped onto the roof, which was also quite a challenge. As I said, this is the first real building I've ever really done. But I think I learned a lot from this experience, and at the end you'll see some of the other buildings that I did, and they look a lot, I don't know if they necessarily look better, but you can see that I've learned from this experience for sure. And I really feel like I've learned techniques, learned stuff that works, and things you should avoid, like the plague, during this whole process. I added a bit of depth to the roof part as well, and added a window and border to the window, like a window frame, and also added some support struts to hold up the window. I think I said this was the first real building I've ever done. It's the first one in this style. I have done one before, the wooden one that you see, so that's not really true. That's also the one that I've used as like a temp house to just paste around the town just to give it a bit of life. As you can see here, it's just like a stand-in for the shops, and then for the main the smaller houses rather, I've just used cubes in brown just to like represent where the houses would go and sort of the size and scale compared to each other. It's a good tool when you're designing stuff like this to just have something visual to indicate where stuff is. I also added this weird brazier thing. Maybe we'll place like a torch or an open flame in it. Maybe it's just decoration. I don't know. I just thought the walls look really empty and really barren on the side, and I didn't want to add extra windows because it's supposed to be like an entrance, so that didn't really make any sense. Came to the front where the door is and made some stairs. Again, I think there are probably better ways to do this that I've learned since, but this was the way we did it, and here it is. Added some sort of railing here, struggled a bit to get it to look as smooth as I wanted and still maintaining that low poly feel, or poly style as some people would like or would rather call it, because it's not as low poly as it could be. But I think the style is, I don't know if it's unique, but it's not just the average low poly, and it's handmade, so it's that part's kind of cool. I made this even more railing, I guess it is, if you want to call the first part railing, and added some detail there. I tried to add some detail on the side of the stairs as well, but that didn't really work out, so I guess we're sticking with this weird sort of shape it has now with a bit of a pattern down the side. Now it was time to come around and give the whole thing some color, and once again I'm not using textures, I'm just using materials for now. I might come back in and add some UV textures at some point, but for now this really wasn't necessary, so this has been the technique we've used so far, and for now I was just gonna stick to it. And once I was done coloring the whole thing in, it was time to try to place it on top of the weird model thing that we'd made earlier, just to give it a sense of scale and place in the world. As I said, this is like the entrance part, and it's built like sort of a Lego piece or a puzzle piece, so we will be able to use this as an entrance to other buildings. Of course, it kind of needs to be in this same style, but it can work, and I'm intending to make it work. Now this is the other pieces that I built. This is the wall. I might change the scale a little bit, but it's just a stone wall with a wooden floor on top, and sort of a guard house here, and the guards have like a little hut on top with this blue roof. I might change how the roof looks though, so just because of that I've also made one without the little hut on top, and some bricks sticking out and windows. And this is the finished castle building, whatever you want to call it. I might still add some more detail to it. I don't know, but for now I'm really happy with it, and it's built up of these puzzle pieces. As I said, I've designed them individually, so we'll be able to use them in different builds to just rotate them and stuff. And I also made this other house, which is a bit lower in quality, less stone brick and more wood, but in the same style and with the blue roof. And I really like this house, so I hope this is the style that I now have established, and I hope to maintain this level of quality going forward. So that's sort of what we've been working on, and where we are right now. I hope to design some more houses before I meet with my friend next time and finish the inventory system, because right now the state it's in, it's really buggy, but the core pieces are there and the fundamentals work. So now it's just tying everything back up together and implementing the code that we've already written and just paste it on top of the new stuff we've added since. So next time, hopefully, we'll have some more buildings, and we'll just go around and paste in the buildings on top of the cubes. Because I am going to copy paste some of the same buildings. I'm not going to make every house unique, but I don't want it to just be one house copied around. I think especially the large shops like the blacksmith and the inn, the tavern, the mage tower, the barracks, they all need unique buildings in order to stand out. So they're not just like the same blue house or the same stone brick house with wood bordering it and a blue rooftop. They need a bit more identity. This has been sort of a Blender speed build video. I hope this is okay for the devlog. As I said, I've been working with my friend, and we have some stuff coming up. And I'm thinking next time I might work on either some creatures or some armor sets after we've finished up with the town. And if you have a name for the town, any suggestions, I'd love to hear them, because I really haven't thought of any. This is just like the first hub for the player to visit. I hope you liked the video. If you did, like and subscribe. And if not, I'll see you in, of course, 2 weeks, because all these videos have been on time, and it's definitely not just a monthly series. It is bi-weekly. So there might be a video in a few weeks. If not, there will be one next month. Thanks for watching. Bye.